we're going to have some discussions on replacement females, and what really you can afford to pay for some of these heifers, and what's
Mm-hmm.
some reality. And I think
Right.
that's extremely important. And producers are interested in that because of what happened back in 14 and 15 when prices got so high and then it plummeted
Right.
with that. And then we have, a lot of session. We're going to have a couple of different sessions on replacement female development. I think that's going to be a keynote thing. And we'll have some ag tech sessions coming back,
Mm-hmm.
talking about drones and artificial intelligence and those types of things. And so, yeah, a wide variety. We will have, like I said, about 23 different educational sessions that'll cover everything from forage management to sustainability to molecular genetics, all the way down to ranching 101.
All right, today, glad to have Dr. Jason Cleere with Texas A&M on the Beef Podcast. Welcome, Jason.
Yeah, it's good to be here. I appreciate the opportunity to visit with you guys today.
Good, good. So before we get started, give me a little background. You're a beef extension specialist at A&M.
Yeah, I've been here with A&M as Texas A&M AgriLife Extension beef cattle specialist for almost 22 years now. Started at one of our regional research and extension centers in Overton, Texas, and kind of covered East Texas. Was there for about 2.5 years, and then they asked me to move to campus and take on more of kind of statewide specialist role. And then also the big part of my job is the Texas A&M Beef Cattle Short Course. And so moved here in June 1st, 2005. So
Oh,
it's been a good ride and enjoy every day of my job. So
it's almost 19 years on the day.
yeah, it's pretty close to that. So.
Seems like you've enjoyed your career at A&M, and it's been fruitful and something you're really passionate about, especially with the beef short course.
Yeah, my job is, as you're well aware, at Extension, every day is a little bit different day. I
Yep.
mean, it may be on a podcast today. Early this morning, I did a ranch visit on the way in at about 7:30, visiting with a rancher and looking at some forages and different things. And so now, after this podcast, we're working on our state 4-H livestock judging contest comes
Mm,
up. It'll be Wednesday, so we'll have about 130 of the brightest livestock evaluators in from across the state with our judging contest. So yeah, it's an enjoyable thing that I get to do.
great. I'm assuming that's a great way to get students on campus and recruit students as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It's one of those things. If you can ever get them to campus the first time, and they can see what it's about and what Aggieland's about, it
Mm.
sure is. It gives you a leg up, certainly.
All right, so let's move over to talk about the topic at hand is the beef short course. It's coming up in August. Give an overview. What is the short course and what's your role in the short course?
Yeah, the Texas A&M Beef Cattle Short Course. This is actually our 70th annual. I've only been doing it. This will be my 20th Beef Cattle Short Course as serving as the coordinator of it. And really, it's an event that draws somewhere around 2,000 ranchers from across Texas and around the world to the campus of Texas A&M here in College Station. And it's always the first Monday in August. So this year it's August 5th through the 7th. And it's turned into, over the last 20 years, we've grown from about, 1,100 ranchers to our peak was the year before COVID hit. And 2019, we had over 2,300
Wow.
ranchers in attendance. We have a trade show of about 150 vendors, anything from equipment to pharmaceuticals to banking to just about anything that comes to it. And it's what everybody on campus says. The Cowboys come to town, and so the campus really opens up their arms, and it's kind of a transformation for a few days back to the ag background. So
Which is great when you think about politics of universities and other demands because even though A&M is an ag school, it's not an ag school in some regards, right?
Yeah.
And so there's always those demands of other things going on, other departments, other needs, and having that many people show up on campus plays a big role in your ability to actually do your job.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I think that's one of the things that, as we're at roughly 75,000 students now, and the vast majority of them are not agriculture anymore. And so even though we're on the west side of campus, on the other side of the tracks over here, so we're a little bit isolated, but we're still just a small part of the university. And so anytime we can get that many ranchers in, and then we also, we have a huge prime rib dinner on that Monday evening, and we'll serve about 1,800 folks Texas Aggie prime rib that we smoke in our own smokehouse, and it's Nolan Ryan beef. And so we invite the president and the chancellor and board of regents and other faculty members, vice president of student affairs, even the football coaches and others.
Hmm.
They like to come out, and so it's a way for us to really highlight how important beef cattle production is to the Texas economy, and important it is for us to be able to feed people too. So anytime we can do that and really to gain that appreciation, I think that's a big part of the beef cattle short course. The most important part is to
Yes,
to
very well.
educate ranchers.
Correct.
But the side note is the fact that we can really just show the university how big this is, and that ranching is not just a bunch of cowboys.
Hmm.
It's really technologically advanced, and to survive in it today, I mean, you got to be cutting edge.
So, why do you believe? I mean, when you think about extension outreach activities, getting 2,000 people in one event is large, extremely large.
Mhm.
Why do you believe that has grown so big and maintained those numbers?
Yeah, we really promote it in Texas, but we also promote it, throughout the South as well. And we'll get folks from over 25 different states that come to the beef cattle short course. And I think it's, some of it is the history of Texas A&M University. Um, I think it's also, I pride it when I took it over. Dr. Larry Bowman, he coordinated it for about 15 years and really kind of resurrected it from the dead. It was just almost dead. And he did a great job with the program and the format. We've got 23 different sessions, concurrent sessions that go on, so it's something for everyone. But then when I took it over, we continued with that and tweaked the education, but we also took it to the level of I tried to make sure it was a great experience for producers that come.
Hmm.
And so I focused quite a bit on the hospitality side of it, making sure we feed them well. People are happy if they're fed well. And so
Right.
we feed them well during that time. We expanded the trade show. We created a lot of networking opportunities to where it's not okay, we're just sitting at a meeting. There's
Right.
just this atmosphere that comes
Right.
about. And I think that's one of the big parts of it. And then the other factor is we really work hard through sponsors and stuff to try to get the registration cost down as low as possible. And we've had to go up some over the last few years because of inflation, but we're at $300 registration, and that's for 3 days. And we're going to feed you 3 hot breakfasts. We're going to feed you 2 hot lunches, and we're going to feed you a big old slab of Aggie prime rib, and a 600-page proceedings that
Yeah.
comes along with it. So, there's a lot of value I think that comes with it as well. And our faculty, it's a cooperative effort of faculty, mostly within the A&M system, but then we get faculty from across the U.S. that come in and help us out. And I think that the educational aspect is a big important thing, and then the unbiased.
Hmm.
That's one thing that I work to get sponsors, but the one thing that I don't do is pay to play.
Right.
And so, and we get that question from sponsors and corporate supporters of the program. Hey, we'll sponsor it, but we got to have a speaker on the program.
Correct. Correct.
And we just don't do that. And we do have corporate people that speak if it's the right fit.
Right.
And if one of our coordinators says, "Hey, Jason, this guy from XYZ company, he's the guru when it comes to this, and he's going to bring an unbiased opinion," bam, we put him on.
Yeah, you do really appreciate companies that will speak without being biased about their product, right? They
Absolutely.
talk about the science behind it, but they don't necessarily push their product. So you really do appreciate that when they do that. But that's the challenge is producers don't want that biased opinion coming in there,
Right.
that because there's a difference in their bottom line as a company and the producer's bottom line sometimes. And be an extension, we have to be unbiased from that.
Absolutely. Yeah, when we cross that, and we walk the line, but when we cross that line where we're very biased and we're just letting companies come in, I think that's when we lose the integrity, and that's always been an extremely important part. That was important to Dr. Bowman when he kind of revitalized it, and it's really been important to me that. And we've got some big companies that don't come to the beef cattle short course, don't even come to the trade show, and that's fine. If but we're going to stick to what has really brought us to the table and made us such a successful educational program.
Speaking of, so what are some of the highlights for 2024?
Yeah, I think down in this part of the world, everybody's the weather. And so we have a big general session on the first afternoon where we try to bring in hot topics.
Hmm.
And so, we'll have Mr. Brian Bledsoe out of Colorado. He'll be back to give us just a really kind of a general weather outlook. We hope it's good news, but
Mm,
sometimes it's not good
right.
news, and that's fine because we're in the planning stage. And then we'll have Randy Block with Cattle Facts that will be in to give a market outlook and kind of where we're going with these things. Um, excuse me, because we've had, everybody in Texas, it doesn't matter who you talk to on the phone. If they've got cattle, they're like, well, how long is this thing? How good is it going to be? And how long?
Right.
And so
Right.
try to give a little bit of glimpse into that as well. We're going to have some discussions on replacement females and what really you can afford to pay for some of these
Mm,
heifers and what's
hmm.
some reality. And I think
Right.
that's extremely important. And producers are interested in that because of what happened back in 14 and 15 when prices got so high and then it plummeted
Right.
with that. And then we have, a lot of session. We're going to have a couple of different sessions on replacement female development. I think that's going to be a keynote thing. And we'll have some ag tech sessions coming back,
Hmm.
talking about drones and artificial intelligence and those types of things. And so yeah, a wide variety. We will have, like I said, about 23 different educational sessions that'll cover everything from forage management to sustainability to molecular genetics, all the way down to ranching 101
Hmm.
and with it. And then on Wednesday, we go out, we have kind of our demonstrations. So there'll be
Okay.
some fence building, there'll be calf processing, branding, those types of things, as well as cattle handling. One of our sessions on that day that always gets a lot of attention is brush busters. So,
Mm,
how do you kill brush,
hmm.
mesquite,
Yeah.
and different things? Which in
Right.
Texas,
It's a big deal.
it's a big problem.
Yep.
So yeah, wide variety of different things.
Good. Sounds like it's going to be a great program.
Yeah, it's shaping up again. I think there's a lot of things that are some of the standby things that we do, but
Hmm.
our coordinators have worked hard to really put in things that are relevant today,
Yeah.
and especially with the times we're in the cattle business.
So who can attend it?
Yeah, it's open to anybody, from diapers on up.
Hmm.
We actually have a special youth track this year that's
Okay.
designed for high school students.
Good.
That our vet tech program will kind of take lead on that, and so those students will get the opportunity to get a little bit different education. They'll still get some of that,
Hmm.
but it's really specialized to that. So we're always trying to think about the next generation and cultivate the minds of the next generation. with it. And we have a lot of university students that come down, that mainly from Texas, but other universities.
Hmm.
One thing that we do is through our livestock shows and Beef Council and some of our other educational partners, our university students they get to attend for free.
Good.
And so we do that. But then the main target audience is our ranchers. And so any rancher in Texas or around the world is invited to attend. And they can register online at our beefcattleshortcourse.com, our website. Registrations is open. And then we have a lot of ag science teachers and
Hmm.
extension agents
Yep.
that come for professional development as well.
So people get like CE credits and stuff like that from attending.
Absolutely. So we'll give on our pesticide CE credits, they'll get usually around 10 of those. And then we also offer for our veterinarians here in Texas, they get an opportunity to get up to like 27 vet
Okay.
CEs.
Yeah.
So they can come and if they're a large animal, any kind of vet, it doesn't
Yeah.
matter, but they can come and get all the CEs they need for a year in just a few days here at the Beef Cattle Short Course. And Dr. Tom Haregrove is our extension veterinarian, and he's worked hard to try to provide we've got two different sessions for them, pre-conference events on
Okay.
Saturday and Sunday, that it's really higher level, targeted to veterinarians
Mm.
on beef cattle side of things. And so he brings in experts from all over the U.S. to offer that opportunity for veterinarians, one, to get their CE,
Mhm.
but really just provide them with some cutting edge information they can take back to their practices.
That's great. So, what's your favorite part of coordinating this a large event?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you the least favorite part, and you'll appreciate this, is on a major university campus, parking is my
Hmm.
least favorite part. But we do have great parking people,
Good.
even though they will give you a ticket if you park in the wrong spot. Uh, but that's the least favorite part. But we've come a long way with that. My favorite part is, the first day is always a challenge for me because you're
Hmm.
trying to bring in 2,000 people, get them in, get them checked in, pick up names, badges, and everything, and get for most of them, probably a third of them, they've never been to the facility, and
Hmm.
so trying to get them navigated
Right.
and there's just a lot that goes on. The prime rib dinner is a very special dinner that we still put them on plated china and silverware and we even our Texas Farm Bureau gives everybody a steak knife.
Mm.
And so they get to walk away with a commemorative steak knife. We do put them in sleeves now. The first year I did that, I didn't have a sleeve for them, and then I started seeing all these people walk outside on a major university campus with knives, and I could see the headlines.
Mm.
Crazy ranchers wielding steak knives seen on campus. You
Yep.
know, so we kind of modified that, but that prime rib dinner is good. But the second day is the day that I get to visit with producers. Things are moving,
Right.
and I really enjoy the opportunity of being able to get around with the producers and visit with them. And a lot of them, they're friends. I've
Hmm.
seen them, worked with them in the field or across the state or other meetings, and then the short course. So the fellowship is probably my favorite part of it.
No, I mean that's a big part of extension is relationships,
Exactly.
and so that's by and far that's what extension does so well is they build relationships because that's important to how you build trust and how do you help producers.
Exactly.
And so that's a great point. I still can't imagine feeding 2,000 people.
Well, you probably, I don't know if you've had Dr. Ron Gill on the
Mm.
podcast yet. So Ron Gill is our kind of our cattle handling guru and travels all over the US and around the world doing cattle handling demonstrations. And people always say that Dr. Gill must have trained you on cattle handling techniques because you can herd them through the lines. And we do. I mean, I'm one that I hate standing in a line.
Hmm.
And so we think about the food that we serve, how we serve it, all the way down to the little things. Because if you can shave a few seconds off here and there, and how many lines you have when you're thinking about that many people, it's a lot. And so for our prime rib dinner, we'll serve about 1,800 folks in a matter of about 35 minutes. And that's hand carving. Our meat science students, our graduate students on our judging team, they
Hmm.
come in and they help us, and they carve the prime rib. And so we'll have about a dozen double-sided lines, and we've got it timed pretty down to just a few seconds per person, all the way down to things like you don't think about. We Several years ago, I moved the salad from the serving line and had them plate the salads, because you think about it, if somebody's digging in a salad bowl trying to make their salad, oh, well, I don't want tomatoes, I don't want cucumbers,
Right, right, right.
and so if we plate it, we can roll the line. So it's a lot of effort that goes into trying to make sure things run smoothly. And we're blessed on campus where we have a lot of undergrad students.
Hmm.
I use the undergrad students that come and they help out, and they're great to work with, and so they help us to help those crowds, and the people love them too, because they get to see and interact with these young
Right.
students that are animal science or college of ag students. So that's the cool aspect about it too.
And it's a great opportunity for them to network and see what's going on and learn from the speakers.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they get the opportunity to visit with one our faculty, but then we typically will bring in some speakers from around the U.S. And get the opportunity to visit with Randy Block with Cattle Facts. I
Hmm.
mean, those are great opportunities that you never know what kind of doors it may open in the future
Right.
for a student.
So, what does the future look like for the short course? Extension is changing. How producers need or see things and want things. Do you see the short course changing in the future to accommodate some of the changes that we're seeing in extension?
Yeah, I think that fortunately for us here at Texas A&M, and we've actually seen in the animal science side a rebuilding of some specialist positions. So we brought some back. We've been very fortunate that we continue to have some good funding with it. It has made us get more creative in how we do things.
Yeah.
We have funding, but it's less. So it's we have to work with grants and other things to get things done. So I think that from that aspect, there will be continue to be opportunities like this. 5 to 10 years ago, when we were starting to get this more online training and different things, pre-COVID, people said, "Jason, you really need to make the short course, do a virtual option for it." And I was really scared too, because I was worried that, if you make it virtual, then they may not come in person.
Correct.
And then that hurts your trade show, which you have those vendors that help support the program. And it's a snowball effect. And so I was really scared to do it. And I didn't. But in 2020, when COVID shut things down in March, after about 30 days, I could see that we were not going to have an in person beef cattle short course. And so I went ahead and pulled the trigger early and made the decision that we were going to flip to virtual.
Hmm.
At the time, I really didn't have a clue how I was going to do it, because I had just started using Zoom and some things. And, fortunately, our registration software we had just started using in January was a new software. It had a virtual platform.
Hmm.
And I was also very fortunate that our university center services that kind of handle all of our conference stuff, were gearing up regardless. But when COVID hit, they really started gearing up to offer virtual for the students, in which they knew they would have to. And so they rapidly geared up for that, and they were my IT people. They supported me, and so we did a virtual beef cattle short course, and registration was $100 for the 2.5 day conference. and we reformatted it a little bit. I shortened the sessions to be
Mm-hmm.
about 2 hour blocks
Mm-hmm.
just because I was thinking screen time and how much I wanted to look at a screen. At the time, everything was so new that I wanted all of my coordinators to come to campus and actually kind of because I could have my command center there on
Mm-hmm.
campus. So they came
Right.
to campus. We actually had to have set up cubicles within our rooms so that our speakers wouldn't have to have masks on. Because if I had a cubicle, that was like an office. And so one person per office.
Mm.
So we had to get real creative
Yeah.
on those types of things. We gave for every 100 participants registered, I gave a free smoked Aggie prime rib and shipped it out to them and did a drawing for
Mm-hmm.
one out of every
Mm-hmm.
100. And we ended up with over 1,800 people registered
Wow.
for that,
Yeah.
which, if you've never done this before, I've never been so nervous in my life as it was that first day, that
Yep.
morning when we went live. And it was all live, everything was live. And it worked amazing. I was just blown away of how it worked. And we had a few little hiccups. I had one veterinarian that had the original iPhone, and that was the only person we could not get logged on. And I just
Mm.
told him, I said, I don't want to update your phone because I'm going to kill it. And so, it worked amazing. So then, fast forward, you go one more year. And we knew at the time there were some that weren't getting out. So we knew we had to have a hybrid mode. So we had virtual and in person. And with that first year, I think we had about 1,400 in person. So the numbers were down.
Mm-hmm.
But then we had 500 or 600 online. And so now we're at about probably close to 2,000 in person, and we'll have about 200 online is all.
Yeah.
So what that told me is if Extension can offer an event for people, something where they can get the education, but also have the experience, the networking, all of
Right.
that stuff, they're going to prefer an in-person event.
Correct.
100% of the time. Now,
Okay.
if you're just, okay, I'm going to pop up a PowerPoint up there and we're going to do 4 presentations, they'd rather do it online.
Yep.
And I'm the same way.
Yep.
And so I think that's one thing that we have to, in Extension, we really have to think about that is that, yeah, there's opportunities for this online distance ad stuff, but there's some great opportunities for in person if you can give them the experience. And things like, so last Thursday and Friday, we had a ranch raised beef conference. And we spent the first day talking about the production side of things and how they do that. But then the second day, we had a grass finished carcass and we had a grain finished carcass, and we fabbed that out
Hmm.
and we
Mhm.
put dollar values on that stuff. And we had 100 people, which was kind of at capacity that paid to come those 2 days. And
Nice.
so again, that's you can watch a video of a carcass being broke up, but being able to see it firsthand like that and seeing it in action and being able to get up close to it, that's the opportunities we offer from an extension and the university perspective. And if we can do that, people are willing to do it. It's just like castration. You can watch castration on a video, but until you see it like real in person
Yep.
and even experience problems. I mean, we had about 120 or 30 producers for a field day a couple of weeks ago, and I had the producer to give me four bull calves. 2 of the 4 were cryptorchid. What are the odds?
Mm-hmm.
But it was a great teaching opportunity that, hey, palpate that scrotum. Make sure that you've got 2 there, because if not, it's going to be a veterinarian's going to have to deal with that.
Right.
So, it's just the real world example.
It's time for our famous 3. We have a time and labor-saving product for you. Beef and Dairy Agrislat by Healthy Farms is your solution. No more lugging jugs around the barn every month. With Beef and Dairy Agrislat, you simply drop the slat through the floor twice a year, and it works to break down solids, reduces crusting and forming. To learn more, visit myhealthyfarms.com.
All right, to finish this off, I've got 3 questions for you. And so the first one is, what is your go-to beef-related resource?
Yeah, I think for me, kind of the go-to is I always rely on the university systems. And if Texas A&M AgriLife Extension's got the resource within our extension program, I go to that. But I'm not opposed to go to other universities, and because every university has something that they hang their hat on, you know,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's Oklahoma State, their breeds of livestock, they were the ones that kind of the
Mm-hmm.
start of that. But then they also have lots of calculators. Or I mean, it's every university has faculty that are the experts in this area. And
Right.
so that's always for me is kind of my go-to when I'm trying to dig up information. If there's something that I need some kind of reference to, especially a question that I don't get very often with a producer, there's just so much resource. And again, it's going to come back to it's unbiased resources. And
Yep.
so that would be definitely my go-to. And again, I prefer it's Texas A&M system, but I mean, there's a lot of universities around the U.S. that do great things as well, so we go to them.
Yeah, extension is a great resource for extension itself, but also for producers.
Absolutely.
What is a book resource that you highly recommend someone to use to read?
A lot of my stuff is online type stuff now
Hmm.
that I dive into. I'm one of these that I'm more of a short kind of a deal. I think one thing that's always good, again, it's a little more advanced, is the NRC guidelines. I think is always
Mm,
is a good resource, and it's online too. For an average producer, that may be a little too in depth on it. But that's one that I kind of use, whenever I'm trying to look up and do some things. So,
yeah, no, fair enough. And lastly, what sets apart a successful beef professional?
the one thing that I learned, in extension, and when you get your PhD, you think you're the smartest person in the world, and you come out and you start your job as an extension specialist and beef industry professional, and you quickly realize that, man, there's a lot of people that have forgotten more than I've ever known.
Hmm. Hmm.
And so I think that's the biggest thing, is to be humble in
Yeah,
what you do and understand that it's okay to say, I don't know that answer, or I need to do a little deeper digging on that before I give you a response. And I think with young students today and faculty, they're in a generation where the answer is always there, and that they kind of grew up in a generation where they don't want to say they don't know
right,
something, but
right.
it's okay to say that. And I, early in my career, I said, I don't know, and I need to get back with you. And I got back with them a lot more than I do now.
Hmm.
Even though I had all the book smarts. That's what my dad always said. You got book smarts, Jason, but you got to have that production applied side to it. And
Right,
then, so I think that, and then also, I mean, we've got a tremendous network at our hands. There's research, there's experts in extension and research all across the United States. And
right.
so don't feel bad about picking up the phone and picking somebody else's brain on that topic. And I think that's the one thing that I've tried to do in my career, is to, had an older gentleman a long time ago said, surround yourself by smart people and you'll look smart.
Hmm.
And I think that's true. I mean, you got to know stuff yourself, but know your resources.
That's a great answer. Great answer. Well, thanks, Jason, for taking your time and jumping on and talking about the short course and what's going on at A&M.
Well, I appreciate the opportunity. And again, Beef Cattle Short Course, August 5th through the 7th, beefcattleshortcourse.com. We're going to have a great event. We hope we can see you there.
All right. Sounds good. Thanks, Jason.
All right. Thanks.